This is the lecture for Chapter 8, Phonemic Analysis. This is the time we're going to start talking about allophones again. So we're going to talk about phonemes and allophones. We've been talking about phonetic transcription. Now we're going to be talking about phonemes. And if you hear the difference, phone and phoneme, they are smaller parts. And we're going to talk about allophones. So phonemes are contrastive and they carry meaning. They are unpredictable and they have contrastive distribution. So we'll actually talk about what that means during this time. They are abstract and there's underlying representation behind them. And they're at the phonemic level. So that's the smallest sound level that we have. That's the sound level. So P is a phoneme, B is a phoneme. Allophones, on the other hand, do not change the meaning. They are very predictable and they have complementary distribution. We're going to talk more about that. They're concrete and their actual pronunciation, more than a different sound. They're a different way to say the same sound. And they're on the allophonic level. So the terminology that we're going to talk about are minimal pairs, near minimal pairs, contrastive distribution, complementary distribution, and free variation. It's kind of fun to start talking about minimal pairs because there actually is articulation intervention that is based on minimal pairs. So that is something that we actually know about and talk about a lot in speech-language pathology. Minimal pairs is useful in determining if a sound in a language is a phoneme. So you can tell if it changes the meaning of the word. Minimal pairs are when one feature of a sound is changed. So pat and bat are examples. So the one thing that changes between those two is the voicing. The rest of the word is the same, but it changes the meaning. Pat is very different than a bat. Other examples are beat and bite. You're changing one phoneme, the vowel, but it changes the meaning of the word. The next one is fish and fin. Sh is very different than an n, and it does change the meaning, even though fin is a part of a fish. So what does this information tell us? The contrasting sounds are allophones of separate phonemes. So p and b are separate phonemes. Beat and bite, the e and the I are separate phonemes, and the sh and the n are different phonemes. And they actually have contrastive distribution. We'll talk about that more. Near minimal pairs are almost minimal pairs, and they only happen with certain sounds. With some phonemes, there are no words that contrast to a specific pair of sounds. In English, there are no minimal pairs for sh and zh, but we can find identical phonetic environments in which the sounds contrast. So mission, vision. If you notice, those are very close, and even though they are different sounds and we change a little bit of the word, they're almost minimal pairs. There's not just one feature that's being changed in them, because you have the M that's different and the V that's different, as well as the sh and the zh. So those are near minimal pairs. Now we're talking about contrastive distribution. These are phoneme levels. They contrast with each other and change the meaning. So they can be in any part of the word. We've talked about the first part of the word, the middle part, the final part, even of syllables. Minimal pairs rest on this concept. That's how you can tell if it's a minimal pair or if it's a phoneme. Examples are pat and pan, tap and tan, cat and can, pick, Tim, come. They're all different. They all have different phonemes, and they actually change the meaning of the word. When you do reading instruction, and speech-language pathologists are doing a lot of that these days, we do something called phonemic awareness. So we actually work with kids on hearing the differences in words and sounds, just like you're learning how to do. So we might say p ick, pick. And so they have to segment the word and then blend it back together. That helps with their decoding when you then put the orthography in front of them. Now we're going to move into complementary distribution, and this is allophones. So contrastive distribution is minimal pairs and phonemes. Complementary distribution is allophones. They are sounds that are similar that don't change the meaning. So they might be produced in a different part of a word. So if you listen to the p in these two words, pin and spin, they're actually in the same, they might be produced a little bit different, but they don't change, they're not the ones that change the meaning. I guess the blend does there. So they're produced in a different place in the mouth. So let's think of key and coo. Say that yourself, key, coo. And I want you to think about where your tongue is. Key. Your tongue actually comes forward a little bit because of the E sound, key. If you do coo, your tongue, when you produce the k, is actually further back in your mouth. So allophones, the k in key and the k in coo are the same phoneme, but they're actually produced a little bit different because of the surrounding sounds by them, the E and the oo. They are produced in the same context. They are in complementary distribution. So they complement each other. The next part of allophones is free variation. It's actually in the same lexical words. So complementary distribution can be two different words like pin and spin, but when you're looking at free variation, it actually is a slightly different production of the same sound. This is where your diacritic marks come in, and it is a very important part of documenting free variation. I understand diacritic marks are really hard, and that's why I only limited it to 4 things that we're trying to focus on and learn. So the examples, let me see if I can say these differently. I practiced. Seat. Seat has the aspiration at the end, and I could actually literally feel the air coming over my bottom lip. Sit, seat, seat. And I released it, and there was a lot of air. Now I'm going to not really release it. Sit. I did a little bit. Sit. So I didn't release, or seat. I'm sorry, I'm changing the word. Seat. So I put my tongue up there, but I didn't release the sound. Now the next one is a glottal. Seat. So I actually produced it back in my mouth. I know it's hard to hear over a video, but I actually did pull my tongue back in the back of my mouth. Seat. And I didn't do my tongue tip. Some of these are hard to hear. They have to be more produced, and you have to practice. So why don't you practice saying seat in those 4 different ways. Now we're going to connect the 2 different levels. The underlying is the phonemic level. Then you have rules that put them together. And then you have the surface level, which is the phonetic level. So the rules are what kind of the glue that keeps the 2 levels together. So you have the phonemic level where you have the sounds, you know, like that sound. Well, the rules say that only comes at the end of words in English. So, and that brings us up to the phonetic level. And so we know where the can be used. So how do you identify the underlying form? I'm just checking the time so that I don't go too long. I think I'm going to stop and do a second video.